But on the side of Dudula, they are always with the police. We have seen them everywhere they go. There's the authorities there. It can only be wrong if they are doing it alone without the company of the authorities. But if
Okay.
the authorities are there, it is okay. And if they
Okay.
don't abuse people, if they don't beat people, you see, I don't see anything wrong, because
Okay.
that is
Okay.
what active citizenship is about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some things can be viewed negatively, but sometimes if you think deep, the whole Africa can learn something from South Africans.
True.
You can learn that South Africans, there is something positive about these marches, because these marches are making the authorities to wake up and do their jobs. In short, South Africans are holding their leaders accountable, because we would not be here if the leaders were doing their jobs. There wouldn't be this uncontrolled immigration if the leaders were doing their jobs properly. You see, there would
Okay.
only be
Okay,
documented
Temba.
people. Yeah.
I'm going to hold you for a little bit. Just let's listen to my brother here, Mr. Nyandoro. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Please just share with us what you have.
Okay. The thing is, like this gentleman is saying, South Africans are holding their leaders accountable. That's not true. They are victimizing innocent people. If they want to hold them accountable, they must go to Sandton. They must actually go to white people, not just to go to vulnerable Zimbabweans and start fighting with them and all those things. And the other thing that I think us as Zimbabweans and South Africans, we must understand this lacks and that Dudula thing. The problem is no one sit down and listen to him. What exactly is he saying, and pave way for what is he saying? He have got an idea to help the government, but he's victimizing the wrong people. And if you remember very well, the reason why we are flogging here in South Africa is because of the South African government. They send Mbeki to go and arrange for JNU in Zimbabwe, which was not necessary. Last, they sent Mushande to go and to do another investigation, which is not even implemented, and they're keeping quiet. So South Africa is actually adding to this crisis.
Brother Temba, are you listening?
Yeah, I'm listening, and I'm glad that my brother there is saying that Nhlanhla is not given a platform to be heard what he is trying to say. That is exactly the case, because what Nhlanhla is saying can really help us, can really help everybody. But because they are not giving him the chance, they should be working with him. But that is not the case. So another thing that I want to add there is that Julius Malema is okay, he's right. Africa must unite. But the approach, his approach, I don't agree with his approach, because it is early to say we must just dismantle borders. We can't dismantle borders while we still have the problem of people who are trafficking drugs. While we are not talking about why people are moving away from Zimbabwe, we have to talk about those things.
Okay.
Our politicians should be talking about why people are leaving Zimbabwe. That is the first thing that should be addressed before we can say borders must be removed. Why are the people leaving their countries? Those things should be addressed first before we can say, okay, Africa is in a position to have no borders. We must have no drugs in our communities. We must have no children traffickers. We must not have dictators. We must not have leaders that abuse their citizens. And then we can say Africa can now remove the borders.
Okay, Brother Nyandoro.
Yeah, the thing is, I think the government of South Africa must also go to the drawing board. It seems like South Africans, they think there is nothing that they benefit from Zimbabwe. There are so many things that South Africa is benefiting from Zimbabwe. I can even tell you a very good example. For South Africa to reach to Zambia, they pass via Zimbabwe. To reach to Malawi, they pass via Zimbabwe. To reach to Congo, they pass via Zimbabwe. Of recent, drivers here in South Africa were saying they don't want foreigners to drive in South Africa. Okay, that's fine. But do they know the moment they will pass Limpopo to cross Zimbabwe, they are also foreigners? How are they going to drive? So are they saying they need to ban all the international trucks? Because if they don't want foreigners to drive in South Africa, then they mustn't drive also in Zimbabwe. And how is that going to happen? So South Africa must also tell its the community to say, you know what, we also get this and this and this and this and from Zimbabwe. It's not like Zimbabwe is only benefiting. I can give you a very good example. South Africa is misusing money for refugees. South Africa, the refugee policy, they should actually have refugee camps and put all the refugees who are working now in the camp, and the United Nations, I'm sure they are funding them. But all the money, we don't know where it is going. Imagine you come from Zimbabwe, come to South Africa, they will say, go to Pretoria, get an asylum. After getting an asylum, they don't even know what you are going to do, what you are going to eat, where you are going to sleep. And in the first place, they allow you to come in the country illegal. Why they didn't make that Barabas start at the border? So that before you even come to South Africa, you're already documented. You must come illegally in South Africa, then you go and apply for papers. I mean, how does that work?
Okay. Brother Temba. Okay, let me read some of the comments here. Someone says, I'm here in Europe. I am failing to explain this to my fellow Europeans that you poor people, you kill yourselves because of something you never caused. Anyone in Africa is not an illegal person. So this one is saying, as long as you're in Africa, you are not illegal. Brother Temba.
No, no, that is not realistic. That is not realistic. You see, people have been fighting for resources ever since. That is why there were many wars that were fought by our grandfathers, because they were fighting for resources. They were fighting for land to farm. They were fighting for cake. Some were stealing cake from each other. Those are the resources. They were fighting for water, the rivers. So fighting for resources has always been there. So even now, what is happening now is fighting for resources. People are fighting for resources, scarce resources. That is why there is Operation Budula. It's because of resources, scarce resources. You see, so if we don't control the movement of people, people will be concentrated in one place. People will be concentrated in one place where there will be no resources to sustain them. That is a problem. So another thing, there is a misunderstanding on my brother there in terms of truck drivers. The South African truck drivers are not saying our brothers from outside South Africa must not drive in South African roads. No, that is not what they are saying. But they are saying trucks that are registered locally, meaning trucks that are owned inside South Africa, must employ South Africans. Then that means truck companies that are there in Zimbabwe can employ Zimbabweans, and Zimbabweans can come to South Africa to deliver. They are not saying Zimbabweans shouldn't drive into South Africa. That is not what they are saying. They are not saying Zambians shouldn't drive into South Africa. But they are saying local trucks should employ South Africans.
Okay, thank you, Brother Temba. Let me just hear. We have Lozi. Lozi has just joined us, but is on mute. I'm not sure if you can hear us. You can unmute and you can give us his contribution.
Okay, how are you, everyone?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us one more time.
Oh yes, thank you. I appreciate for giving me another chance to speak out.
Yeah, yeah. So you have heard from my two brothers here, Temba and Mr. Nyandoro.
Look, I'm only here in like 5 minutes ago. I don't think I've covered all the conversation, but I've heard Nyandoro speaking about the trust, which I think Temba was trying to explain to him how the whole thing is about, because I think there's misconceptions regarding the trucks, the truck drivers in South Africa, because they used to strike, which I think they still do. So basically, I think Temba has covered everything that I can explain. I mean, the South African truck drivers have never said they don't want trucks in South Africa, and I don't think there's anyone who has ever got that misunderstood. The problem with other Africans, and they like to do this deliberately, they misquote what South Africans say all the time. And this is done deliberately for self-gain. There's no one who don't understand the concept of South African truck drivers driving South African trucks for South African companies. The same can be said with Zimbabwean truck drivers driving Zimbabwean trucks for Zimbabwean companies. So the South African truck drivers were saying, can the trucks for South Africa be reserved for South African truck drivers? Because let's face it, guys. If South African drivers have to compete with Zambian drivers, Malawian drivers, Mozambican drivers, Zimbabwean drivers, we know how this goes down. South Africans are not moving to Zimbabwe or Zambia or Mozambique or those countries basically because there's no employment. There is no big corporates that can even push the same numbers of trucks as South Africans. So if we have to put South Africans in the same boat, then we have to put South African truck drivers in the same boat.
I think there's something wrong
Other
with
country
the audio.
they can run to. That's just the reality.
Okay, I think there's something wrong with your volume or your speakers, Mr. Lozi. Let me read some comments here.
You
Someone says
can
Africa is not ready. Okay, is it
hello?
clear now?
Okay.
Okay, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
can hear you. Okay. So did you hear me the last part I was saying? I was just basically explaining that the South African truck drivers never said other truck drivers cannot drive in South Africa. But they were basically saying South African truck drivers can need to drive South African trucks, and Zambian truck drivers can come to South Africa with their own trucks as we trade. Logistically speaking, let's say we take maybe sugar canes from Zambia for process in South Africa. Basically, the Zambian truck drivers will come down to South Africa with their own trucks. South African truck drivers cannot go to Zambia and drive Zambian trucks and bring them to South Africa. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, Mr. Nyandoro.
No, 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 no. I think what he's talking is talking theory. Can I tell you something? I work for a trucking company. 6 of our trucks were banned in Durban, and I can tell you our trucks they operate Durban to Zambia. They carry copper. So you are talking from hearing things that I'm on the ground. They ban our trucks. I mean, for no reason. And there are South African companies with trucks here that are going to Zambia with copper. There are South African trucks with South African drivers that are going to DRC via Zimbabwe. So you cannot say they said it. I like the word you use basically. Basically, yes, basically they said what you are saying, but that's not what is on the ground. So let's not actually run away from what is on the ground and talk of the basics. We are not talking of the basics here. We are talking of what is happening.
Can
Okay,
I speak? Because
Lozi.
I feel like can I speak? Because I feel
Okay.
like you've got a habit of saying things. Nyandoro, I seen that you've got a habit of making big claims. Before you said South African government is receiving money for refugees and asylum seekers. Do you have like a tangible evidence for that? Because or is just a claim?
That doesn't need tangible evidence. Every country that
So you see,
actually accommodate refugees.
No,
listen to me. If you don't know, I want to educate you now. Any country that accommodate refugees gets money from United Nations. There's no way South Africa can be just a good father to accommodate everyone. They're benefiting.
Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence from South African government, or you just speculation?
You can phone UN. You can go to UN now and ask them how much are they giving South Africans for refugees. It's common sense. You know what? Don't try to confuse people. It's common sense. It's known.
You don't have to shout. You don't have.
No, I'm not shouting. But you're asking a funny question.
I need to respond.
It's very funny.
I need let me talk so that it. I need to respond so that
let's talk one by one so that we hear each other clearly.
Because when people run out of facts, they're gonna try to overtalk you so that you cannot speak out. So basically, let's engage, and let's not be entitled. Let's not be entitled, guys. Let's engage. Let's engage as like scholars. What I'm saying is, do we have evidence of other African truck drivers driving South African trucks? We have seen other migrants driving South African trucks, right? We can all agree that historically there has been evidence of other African migrants driving South African trucks. Can we agree?
We like, I can give you companies where South African drivers are going to.
No. Listen to what I'm saying.
I do have evidence that there are South African drivers who are doing cross-border.
Listen to what I'm saying. You need to, listening is a skill. I said there are South African trucks that are driven by migrants in South Africa, other migrants from other countries driving South African trucks. Can we agree with that?
Yes, it has been always like that.
Hello?
It has been always like that. Before you were even born, it was like that always.
But you need to say yes or no. Don't give me a long sentence. Is it? We agree that.
Yes, I do agree.
So,
yes.
Yes. So we can agree that when people were protesting and burning trucks, it was people who were fed up, who didn't have to choose, because this matter hasn't been addressed for a while. It's not that South Africans were targeting foreign trucks. They were just responding and burning any truck they see. They didn't care whether the truck was from Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, be it. At that time, they were responding to a long ongoing thing that was being forgotten by a government. Can we agree?
We can agree, but you must remember something.
No,
that is the problem.
I need to finish. I need to finish.
Yes, we can agree. Let's agree.
Yes. Okay. So can we agree that if what South African truck drivers are calling for can be avoided, where South Africans drive their own trucks and other nations drive their own trucks, this whole thing can be avoided and we can all trade fairly? Can we agree that's how it's going to be?
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
I don't agree. Because remember drivers, because remember these foreign drivers, they're not employing themselves. So
they what?
They don't employ themselves. So it can only work if South Africans victimize the employers, not employees.
That's true, but remember, here's the thing: we're not gonna ignore the fact that African leaders are failing their own people and dumping them on South Africa. Now, imagine if African leaders can take care of their people, whereas there's no people who are available to exploit in South Africa. So I know I'm gonna say our government needs to deal with that, and South Africans need to deal with that, which is what we are currently doing. But everybody's crying xenophobia when we do it. Xenophobia, obviously, the attacks must be avoided. We shouldn't be attacking anyone, but the matter should be taken to the government where they need to address the issue of unemployment in South Africa. We cannot afford to have foreign truck drivers driving South African trucks when we have high unemployment rate. That is common sense, because South African truck drivers, they're not driving any trucks in any African country. So if we're going to do this Pan-African thing where we all come together, we need to trade fair. Let's do it fair on the table. South Africans are not driving any truck in any African country. unless if there's information that I'm missing.
Yeah, you are
Okay.
missing a lot. South African drivers are driving in other countries. They are driving, going to Mozambique.
Do
They are
you
driving, going to
do you hear
Zimbabwe.
what you said?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you are missing a
Okay.
fact. South
So,
African drivers
so
are driving all over.
the
They
South
go to
African
Namibia.
drivers are driving. My guy, listen. South African drivers are driving in other African countries to deliver the goods from South Africa, driving South African trucks. You deliberately missing the point. South African truck drivers are not driving Zambian trucks.
Okay.
They not.
Guys.
The
Okay.
problem
Sorry,
is
gentlemen. Sorry, I want to make clear from what I'm understanding Loz is saying and what Mr. Nyandoro is saying. Loz is saying there are South Africans who are driving trucks into other African countries, but they are not really working in those countries, right?
Yes, that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying.
Mr. Nyandoro, on the other hand, is like, no, there are South Africans who are in other countries driving there, right?
yes.
He said so. Yes.
Yeah. So that's where the clarity should be.
Now, and he understand me very well. He clearly understand what I'm saying, but it's important for him to misquote me because it serves his own agenda. At the
No,
let's face it. But bottom line is, I'm
no,
saying South
no.
African trucks should be
I'm not.
driven by South
I'm not.
Africans.
I'm not misunderstanding you. It's like even the fact that you said the governments are not responsible. We spoke about it that with Temba, and we agree. But then, like you was talking of resources, you cannot claim that a person who's selling brooms in the street is taking the resources of South Africa when there's people like Rubens and all those people who are taking
Why
the
are we
resources of South Africa.
why are we having someone from another country selling brooms in South Africa in the first place? Our immigrants
The,
laws say
the,
that's illegal. You shouldn't be
the,
here
the,
if you are here to sell brooms.
the problem